Hey Jackal, do you even lift? I'll show you how to do all of the heavy lifting when making 2D animations in DaVinci Resolve in the Fusion page. And I'll also show you how to convert the correct rig that you will make in the Fusion page into a template so that you can use it in the edit page, which will also allow you to change the images so you can also replace the character. Now let's get digital. Now if you want to make 2D animations like the one that you saw, you'll need some images. I went to free pick and I used this one. The link will also be down below. And what we'll need to do is split the images up, because at least in this case, this is a whole image. So I went to the Illustrator to split the image and I got individual body parts. And this is how that looks like. So once you have the images, we'll go to the media pool, right click, make a new Fusion composition, give it a name if you want, and change the duration, put it on the timeline. You can now extend it to be as long as you want. Then you will select it and go into the Fusion page, but before you do, also put the images in. Now if you have the images the way that I have, you'll want to put them in one by one. If you don't, this will make a sequence. Now currently this doesn't do anything because I already have these images in, but if I didn't have them, this would make one file and it would go from 1 to 5. So you'll want to put the images in one by one. Now let's go into the Fusion page, open the media pool and put the images in. So what I'll do is I'll use the head, I'll use the body, and I'll use the left arm. As you have seen in the intro, this will be animated. And I'll show you how you might want to do the animations with right arm. So let me first connect everything up. I will use the background node, just so I know that this will be the resolution that I want. So this is the project resolution. And it will be connected to the back of the background node. And I will change the color to be transparent. So now if I connect the head and the body, you can see that they are small. So ideally what you want to do, if you use Illustrator to export this, is to scale this up. Otherwise, when we increase the size, this will have a low quality. But just for this example, I will work with what I have. I will now use a transfer node for both the head and the torso, and you'll be using the transfer nodes to do all of the animations. So that's done. Let me now connect the arm. This will be the left one. And as you can see, for this one, I wouldn't really need a transfer node, but if I want to do the animation, I do. Because as it is, it's connected to the front of the merge, so I can move it. But if I change the inputs, so this would be in the front and this would be in the back, everything changes. So you will want to leave the merges alone and use the transfer nodes so that if you make any changes, the position will stay the same. So now if I change this back to the front, as you can see, the hand is where it's supposed to be. So this is something that you might want to do. And now let's do the animation. So this is the upper arm. You'll use the transfer node and you'll use the angle. Not what you want. So we can fix that by adjusting the pivot point. So let's adjust it. If I now use the angle, it moves. But we have an issue because the lower arm and the hand don't move with the upper arm. So what you could do, which will take a lot of time, is move this pivot point as well to here. And then move this one to there. And this one to here. And also change this pivot point to the wrist. So you can move it like that. But anytime you would move the upper arm, you would have to move the lower arm and the hand as well, which is not what you want to do. So I'll show you how you can combine the joints. So let's see, we have the upper arm. I'll press F2 to rename this. So I'll rename the nodes. And how I want to do this is from the back. So I will start with the hand because it's the last joint before it connects to the body. So how I'll do this is I'll have the hand, I'll take the transfer node so I can move it, and I'll use the merge to connect it, and I'll connect it so I can move it to about this place and I can adjust the pivot point. Now we need to connect the lower arm to this composition. So now because we want to move the hand with the lower arm, it means that the transform has to come after the merge. So I'll connect it like so, connect the transform and do it like this. So now when I move the angle, as you can see, they both move. But now I'll just have to position the hand to where it's supposed to be. So something like so. So now I can move the lower arm. I have to adjust the pivot point to the elbow. So we have to connect the upper arm after this point. So we need a merge node. Connect it like so. And now we also need a transform at the end. So everything will move with it. I'll change the pivot point. Well, first let me just adjust the position. Adjust the pivot point to the shoulder. Position it to here. And now I simply need to adjust the position of the lower arm. So now I can change the angle on the upper arm, on the lower arm, and on the hand. Let me adjust the angles back to 0. Now in case you want to put something in the hand, like the weight, we'll first have to combine the hand and the weight because we want to be able to adjust this at the same time. So this is the easiest way to do it. So with the weight, we also have to add the transfer node so we can position it. But first let's adjust the position of the hand, adjust the position of the elbow, and also adjust the position of the upper arm. And as you can see, we'll also have to adjust the pivot points. So adjust the pivot point. And if you didn't know, the pivot point is this X. And now all I have to do is adjust the position of this weight and change the angle to 90 and maybe adjust the position. So now I can adjust the hand and the weight will move with it. I can adjust the lower arm and the hand and the weight will move with it, and I can also do the same with the upper arm. So I have angle hand right, arm right, angle lower arm right, and angle upper arm right. So this is now done. You will do the same for the left arm, for the legs, and we could also rename this to be torso. Now the torso won't really move, but you could also animate it if you wanted by scaling it in the Y or in the X direction, if that is something that you wanted. And as for the head, we would also need to adjust the pivot point, and we could move the head like this. But also, we could also scale it up and down. So once you have all of the images connected to the transfer nodes and positioned how you want them, you would select all of the nodes. Now I will select them in the order that I want. First I'll start with the weight. I'll rename it and I'll use this weight angle. So I'll start with the weight and its transfer node, hand and its transfer node, lower arm and the transfer node, and the upper arm and the transfer node. Then I could do the same for the left side, for the head and the body, and anything else that we would have, and select all of the merges that remain. Once you have all of the nodes selected, right click on one of them, macro and make one. Now we can also enable the background node, so you can have a solid color background but you can also change this to a gradient. So that is also something that you can enable. So let me first go to the background node and enable everything, so that everything will have to do with the color. So select everything that has to do with the color. We have the gradient, we have the start, which is this, and the end is this. And also select the type if you want to be able to change from solid to a gradient. Now with that done, I'll go all the way to the top, and the nodes, as you can see, are in the order that I've selected them in. So with the weight and any other image, you'll want to select clip name, and instead of the clip name, put in a different name. So in this case, maybe I'll use weight right hand, and that's it. That is just the image. I don't want to do anything else. Then we have weight angle. Now in the weight angle or in the transforms, you have to ask yourselves what you want to be able to change. So in this case, maybe you want to be able to change the size. If you want to scale in the X and Y direction, you also have to enable this option. So we have the aspect, X size. Maybe you'll need to be able to change the angle, so also enable that option. Maybe we need to also change the pivot point and the position. So pivot and center. And this is what you'll want to be able to change in most of the transfer nodes. Then we have the hand. We'll enable the clip name. Type in right hand. And then in this transfer node, we did change the center, so we want to be able to change this. Also the pivot point, maybe the size, the aspect, and the angle. Now I only have two left to do in this example, so let me do it quick. So these are done. What you may also want to be able to do is go to the last merge and enable the size to scale the whole character. So this is what I'll also do. I'll enable the size, and maybe you also want to be able to change the position. So you can position the character to the left, to the right, and maybe you also want to change the flip. So you can flip it like so, or like so. Now once you have everything done, we'll go to a file, save as group, fusion, templates, and as you can see I don't have anything yet. So let me make a folder. So this could be a title, so I'll make a titles folder, but it could also be a generator. So I'll make a generators folder as well, but I'll put it to the titles and name this to the character rig.settings. Save the template, go into the edit page, open the effects, go to titles, type in 2D, so I don't see anything. Oh, of course I forgot one thing. So when you make a macro and if you don't have any files in, let me go back. So we have templates. This actually has to be edit. And inside the edit, we have the generators and the titles. And now you should be able to see this template inside the edit page, because as you can see, this is the edit page. And in the edit page, you have titles, generators, effects, and transitions. So now in the titles, if I type in 2D, we have the 2D character rig. We also see some images. Now by default, this is 5 seconds long. We'll simply have to extend this. Now if you want to change the default duration, you have to go to DaVinci Resolve Preferences. And this will be under the users, editing, and you can change the duration here. So now in the template, you will go to the inspector tab. Now if this is in a new project and you don't have the images in, I could maybe simply delete them. So now I have media offline. I can put the images in. So now I have weight right hand. So I have the weight. I have the right hand. I have the lower arm, which is this one. Then I have the upper arm. which is maybe this one. And that's it. Now the template would work in this way. Why it doesn't work in my case? Well, that is because I've deleted all of the images from the project, and the template still uses a bunch of images, as you can see. So this is the image of the head, and this is the image of the torso, if I believe. So I will simply ungroup this, put the image of the head in, connect it to here, and I have the torso, which is this one. So now this shows up, and this is why you should always save the template as a group, so you can simply come in and make the changes if you need to. Also, the template still doesn't work because I have these images in, because if I want to display them, as you can see, they bug out, but this issue didn't pop up, so I also have to change that. So now the template should work, but it still doesn't. Well, since nothing works, let's see if at least the background does. Okay, this is definitely not what I expected. Will it make any difference if I put the template from the title to the generator? I can test that out. So let me change the location of the template from the titles to the generators. So this has changed. Put it on. Now I'll have the same issue as before, so I'll go into the Fusion page. Now this should be the body. I'll simply change the image to fix it. I'll disconnect the lower section, and this is the head. So now this is connected. Let's see if now this will do any changes, and it does. And I can change the aspect. So in this case, this has to be a generator, not a title. And we can now make the animations as we need to. So in case of the title, the template did not work out, but as a generator, it works flawlessly. Now what you would need to do is simply replace the images with different ones. I only have these ones, so this is what I used. But you would have anything else, you would simply replace the images. You can also place a head, but in this case, as you can see, this messes it up. So you need to change the position, and maybe you would also need to adjust the pivot point. And to make it a little bit easier to see what you're doing, you would enable the Fusion overlays. As you can see, this is the right hand as the pivot point. Right hand number is moving. This is the lower arm, and this should be the head. So position it like that. Maybe it's best to just center the position and then move the pivot point. Position the upper arm. Now the pivot points don't really match up with what we see on the screen, so let's go into the Fusion page, and they should be a little bit more representative. So this is the weight, this is the hand, the lower arm, and the upper arm. And now we simply have to change the positions. So depending on the images that you use in the template, you could make the changes in the edit page, but if you don't have any luck, you can make the changes in the Fusion page. And that's how you can animate 2D characters in DaVinci Resolve and make a template for them. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, jackals, keep it digital.